What's going on, CHTV fans? It's Joseph Randolph,
and Brian Maafi.
And this is your prediction show for CHTV's Packers Draft Room. We are a little bit less than 24 hours from draft day. And a few hours after that, we are hearing the first name come across the board, and then it's our long, grueling wait for pick 25. So we're just gonna spitball here a little bit on how we think this draft is gonna play out. But we're gonna take it from the top. So Brian, just what do we know, or what do we think we know about one, this draft class, and two, the Packers front office?
The draft class, we've kind of talked about some of the stuff before, but it's deep at corner. It's deep on the interior line. Offensive tackle class, it's good, but at the same time, it's not good. At least for Green Bay, just for their thresholds and stuff, it's not great. In the depth of all, the offensive class is not great. It's more strong at the top. Tight end class kind of sucks. The wide receivers are really good. There's a lot really deep there. The running back class is not good. The quarterback class is not that great after the first 8 guys. After that, it's just a bunch of guys who probably are basically UDFAs, but they'll probably get drafted just because there's no one else. Defensive tackle class is not bad. I think it's better than some people think. The edge class is not that good after the first few guys. The linebacker class is not that good. The safety class is not that good. Yeah, that's about it, I guess. I don't know. As far as the Packers, they're going to be the Packers. They're going to do the same stuff they do every year. People are going to get angry that they didn't take this player or that player, or they didn't trade up or whatever. But it's just they just always do the same stuff basically every year. And then people get angry that they didn't do something different for some reason. They'll take their premium position player at the top of the first round and people get angry about it. And then the guy will go on and be a starter, 10-year starter or whatever. And, stuff like that. It happens every year.
Yep. This class is probably one of the lesser classes that we've seen in the last probably half decade. Kind of to go back to my famous quote from last draft class, where I said not a lot of ribeye, but play a New York strip. This class, we've got some tomahawks at the top. The Marvin Harrisons, the Joe Alts, the Quinion Mitchells, but like I said, they're at the top. The Packers aren't gonna see those guys.
Nope.
And then real quick, you get a couple New York strips. You get some Dallas Turners. And then it gets to the tri-tip real quick. So in my opinion, and we've said it already, multiple times throughout this series, overdrafted. Guys who probably will be early picks in this class are probably your mid picks in a previous or upcoming class. I think GMs are gonna jump up for their guy, because as you look and watch this draft unfold, I'm not saying there's gonna be a million trades, every round, but teams are gonna jump up and get their guy. When they're on the clock, they're gonna go for their guy, because the next guy could be a 2-round grade drop off. If you don't get your guy in round 2, the next guy per your evaluation may be a 4th or 5th round pick. And then if you didn't get your guy, there's probably 4 to 7, 10 other teams that didn't get their guy as well. And they're going to be angling for that guy in the 4th or the 5th round. Hell, they might take him comp pick time in the 3rd round, because they don't want a chance having to duke it out with 10 other teams, a third of the league, to get their guy when the true valuation is the 4th or the 5th round. But you're like, you know what? I gotta have him. I gotta go get him. Maybe we might see some ancillary trade backs to make teams feel a little bit better. Like, I really want this guy in the 4th. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get him in the 4th, but if I just wait on the phone and somebody says, hey, we're looking to move up, like, what's up? Like, hey, I'll slide back 11 picks so that way I can get my guy and feel a little bit better about it. And then maybe I can get somebody else. That's how I feel this draft is gonna play out. So let's talk about, well, first of all, let's talk about Brian Gutekunst. What do we know, or what do we think we know about Brian Gutekunst? I think he's a really good poker player. I believe about somewhere between 40 to 60% about what I see or what I hear from Brian Gutekunst, and then I wait for what he actually does. So what do we believe? What do we believe, Brian?
About Goody? He's going to always do his thing. He had his press conference the other day, and obviously he's not going to tell people who they're taking. He's not going to tell exactly what his plans are, of course. But, he still gives you little nuggets here and there. Most of the stuff he's talking about is just kind of like, how would you say, kind of just vague stuff that's not really anything specific. But, little things like he talks about, like they have their process and they're going to go through that process. And they have their way of drafting the boards, not drafting the boards, sorry, approaching the draft in regards to their board. So when their pick comes up, they just go with their board, and that's how they are. That's how they tailor the board too. They tailor the board towards their positional preferences and this and that. So they'll take a premium position over a non-premium position, of course. They haven't drafted it, like, for example, they haven't drafted an interior offensive lineman since 1994 in the first round. I doubt that's going to change. I know everybody loves Graham Barton, but I doubt it's going to change unless for some weird reason they view him as a tackle. But I've seen and read and heard nobody views him as a tackle, basically. At least as a tackle, like primary tackle. As some people see him as like a guy who can fill emergency. But even like that stuff, and then the way he approaches the holes on the team is he usually hits it with multiple fronts. He'll bring in a free agent. He'll draft some guys, and then he'll bring in some post draft free agency, and UDFAs and stuff like that. So whenever he has a hole on the team, he usually hits it with multiple ways. He still follows the Ted Thompson, Ron Wolf way of drafting, the way of approaching the draft. He still holds to his thresholds for the most part. He'll bend here and there, but like he won't completely break his thresholds. They're not going to draft like an Xavier Worthy or anything like that. It's just like I said, it's more or less the same every year. Every now and then they'll take a shot at some guy like a Shamar Jean Charles or whatever, or that doesn't really fit. Most of the time those guys don't end up working out. Every now and then one will work out, but most of the time those guys don't end up not working out in Green Bay. But pretty much they just stick to their guns and do what they've been doing the last 30 plus years.
Very true, Brian. So going to the previous the most recent press conference, a couple things I gleaned from Goody, and honestly, I kind of knew it before he even said it. If that makes sense, not to necessarily call myself the Swami, but this is a competition based draft class, or what will be a competition based draft class. Let's remember that this team, this 2023 team, almost was a few plays away from making the Super Bowl with a rematch with Kansas City, and this team has only lost a handful of players. Aaron Jones, who was replaced by Josh Jacobs. Depending on how you feel about it, Davey Bakhtiari, which he was gone from week 1 and until then, until their end of the season. Darnell Savage and Devondre Campbell. So, and Rudy Ford, who is still hanging out there, and like Brian said, he may come back into the fold as Goody tries to address this safety position. So that loss is still got some quotation marks around it. So other than that, this team is still pretty much complete. And he said it time and time again, the Packers aren't going to chase a team. We're not going to chase the 49ers. The 49ers are really chasing us if you look at their cap scenario, which is about to blow up in about 2 years. They bled off some veterans this year to kind of keep their window a little bit longer. So the Lions are chasing us. The Vikings obviously are a mess. And then God knows what we'll see from, the Eagles and the Cowboys, coming up. So really the Packers are in the driver's seat for the NFC Championship going into 2024. So how do you take a team like that? You add competition. If I can get a guy that's maybe as close to my starter and he can push him in camp, then the team just got better. If my starter gets replaced by, a drafted player, I still got his talent in reserve, and then I got even better talent, moving up front. The team just got better. So that's what we expect to see. Brian already said it, premium position over non-premium position. I'm going to expect a couple wild swings, particularly on day 2, where maybe a premium position a guy just hangs out there a little bit too long. And then, the Packers just swipe him up just in the name of competition. The one thing I probably did, take from Goody's most recent press conference was he said he was actually interested in possibly 13 to 14 picks.
Yep.
That kind of actually caught me not totally off guard, but slightly. If he would have said, well, actually, no, I wouldn't have. I mean, 12 isn't really even worth it. So 13 to 14 picks was a little bit of a surprise. I was thinking maybe he would just say his casual, we want to move around the board, kind of thing. But 13, 14 picks. So in my eyes, 13, 14 picks means only one thing. And that means we're trading 25. Brian, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about it as a probability or possibility, whatever you want to call it. The last probably couple of weeks I've been thinking about that, 2, maybe 3 weeks. Because if you look at how the board looks like it's going to break down, the players left there at 25 is going to be kind of like not that they're bad players, but I just mean that like the value is going to be kind of like, and like it's going to be like a clump of players who are all going to be kind of rated similar at 25 that will still be there at like 32, 33, 34, stuff like that, 30, whatever. So I don't see any reason why they wouldn't trade down. That's what I'm saying. Like I think it's likely that they trade down, unless someone drops to them, or they have an opportunity to move up for somebody or something like that, which I don't think is going to happen, but maybe. So yeah, like that's kind of why I've been thinking that they'll drop from 25, and then also even also kind of started me on thinking about that was Andy Herman did a video a while ago too, talking about how 25 has been traded like 14 out of the last 15 years or something crazy like that. And I was thinking about that, and I was looking at how the board would fall, and I started thinking about that. And I was like, that makes sense. How the board's looking, the needs of the Packers, their holes, the premium positions that they usually draft in the first round, how that all kind of fits together. At 25, it just makes sense. That how the board's going to break down. Just the players there at 25 are going to be guys that can get to trade down to 30 or whatever. And I think the whole 12 picks, 13 picks thing or whatever, he gets that from Ted Thompson. Ted Thompson always liked having a lot of picks. And Ted Thompson, that was a Ted Thompson-ism that he said at the press conference the other day when he said, "Oh, he likes, the more swings at bat, the more hits you'll get," or whatever it is. That he got that's from Ted. Ted said that numerous times at press conferences. So, yeah, that's just a very Ted Thompson thing, and the Goody thing too, and it makes sense. I mean, he wants this roster's not 1 or 2 players away from the Super Bowl. I mean, yes, they almost got to the NFC Championship, but there's still holes at safety. There's still holes at linebacker. O-line. They still need a little bit more depth at running back. And some other stuff like that. In other places, they need more competition. So they're not like a team that's a couple players away where you say, okay, well, let's just trade up to 15 and get a player, and then maybe get that other player, the other couple players we need in the second, third round, or fourth round, fifth round, whatever. Then we're good to go. They still need a lot more depth on the team. I think I continue kind of going off and ramble a bit here, but I think 2025 will be the year if this 2024 class works out. 2025 will be the year that we might see them move up to try and get that 1 or 2 players that they're missing to take them to the Super Bowl.
Totally agree with you, Brian. 2024, we could fall into a Super Bowl. I really do believe that we could fall into it. If the playoff matchups, something injuries, whatever the case may be, player regression. One, it's set up for the Packers to take the North back. It's easily set up for the Packers to take the North, and possibly end up as I wouldn't say the 1 seed, but it's probably somewhere reasonably between being the 3rd and the 5th seed in the playoffs. And then at that point, it's just really about matchups. And I think Matt LaFleur is still progressing as a coach. But I think he made some strides this past year that gave me a little bit more confidence in him. And I know people probably would knock me for saying this, but at the end of the day, we got a first-time head coach and we got a first-time GM. They're going to continue to evolve as they go through the rigors of NFL seasons and different scenarios that they've never really encountered before. So I look forward to the evolution of both Goody and LaFleur as they get into this 2024 season. So the competition is the name of the game. And I would say, like Brian already said, 25th is not really a good spot. I didn't know Andy had brought out the 14 to 15 times, but historically, 25th does not yield you a great player historically. And in this class particularly, I don't even know if I have 25 first round grades in this year's draft class. Probably, that back end, probably from 23rd on to 32nd, is really just the beginning of the second round, where once again, like overdrafted, teams that know, look, this guy is not going to be there at the bottom of the second. He should be, but because of the lack of players or talent at that particular level of that position is not going to be available. Guys will go quick. So then it's like them, same scenario, okay, he's gone in the second. The next graded player is now a mid 4th round dude. Guys are gonna jump up and get their dudes. So an extra swings at back makes total sense. I've been targeting a couple trades, and it really just depends on how Goody and the front office board plays out. I would say if I had to probably put a number on it, I would say if we're talking, let's say from 24th to maybe 35th is probably about the same caliber of player. But then from 36 to probably 66 is probably the same caliber of player. So if I'm Brian Gutekunst, I want as many swings in that sweet spot of probably about 30, 36, maybe 34, 36, and going all the way out into the 80s. You're going to get a very similar, talent in the second and the third rounds. It just depends on what position you're angling for. I think probably, and then, front offices, they do these scenarios all day long. They do mock drafts all day long. Obviously, I think he's going to sit pat. And if I'm Goody, or maybe if I'm just me, I'm only running that card in at 25 for probably, one of maybe 2 or 3 players. Probably one of the sliding premium offensive tackles. Uh, if for some reason in some alternate universe Olu Fashanu slides, great. If Amarius Mims is still there, absolutely. Beyond that, it really depends on how people feel about Cooper DeJean, because after that, the safety class is just a matter of, pick your poison. Who do you like? Whatever the case may be. I could be okay with a Cooper DeJean at 25th, but beyond that, I'm bailing. I'm bailing out. I'm going deep into the second round. So, and like Brian said, would I take Graham Barton at 25? I would. I don't think the Packers would take Graham Barton at 25. Anything's possible, but I don't think they would take Graham Barton at 25. So he's out. I've watching a lot of mock drafts. I know a lot of people like Kool-Aid at 25. I would like Kool-Aid at 25 as well. However, with how deep this cornerback class is, it's not a must to have Kool-Aid at 25. And obviously, we talked about in the cornerback episode, Quinyon Mitchell is going to set the market for the draft. If he goes in the top 15, Terrion Arnold, Nate Wiggins, they'll probably go, maybe 3 to 7 picks later. And then that's probably like, Kool-Aid is probably around our 25. But there's so many other players, Renardo Green, Max Melton, who will be available second round that are similarly talented. I wouldn't put Renardo Green too far off from Kool-Aid. So I wouldn't put Max Melton too far off from Kool-Aid. I love Jerrion Jones as a nickel. He could be had in the second and third or probably the second round. I think he's trending up towards the bottom of the second round. So yes, more additional swings. But there's 2 trades that I would probably predict, and it just really depends on who answers the phone. First would be probably, I would say, the Dolphins. The Dolphins are the Dolphins are a little salty about how the playoffs went last year. They got they ran out of their own stadium, didn't they?
I don't remember the score offhand. Maybe.
Yeah, they put together what they thought was a Super Bowl caliber team, and they got ran out of the playoffs real quick. They may be looking for some additional talent, whatever that may be. So I can see that as a potential deal. I don't think traditionally we don't see guys or teams trade within even the conference, much less a division. So I believe the Dolphins could be in play, which I believe they are at. I believe they're at 55. So our first pick wouldn't be till the 41st, but a pick for the 55th would probably land you. Actually, I'm sorry, not the Dolphins. I'm having a brain fart here. The Texans. I don't know why I thought the Dolphins, but the Texans at 42nd. That gives us 2 picks right behind each other. 42nd, 59th, and then maybe depending on what the Texans are looking for, because they were so close to beating the Ravens, maybe 86 or 123rd. That gives you a ton of options to go in day 2. What about you, Brian?
Yeah, I guess I don't know if I see him trading out completely the first round. I could see it. I think more than likely they'll trade to the bottom of the first round, unless they get an offer that blows them away, type of thing. To trade down to 32, 33, not 32, 32 is the first round, like 33, 34, 35, something like that. Unless they get an offer like that blows them out, I think they'll probably trade down towards the bottom of the first. But yeah, like I said, unless they get an offer that blows them away, then maybe they'll trade down to the mid to late 30s.
I thought about like a trade with the Chiefs. I thought about it. I just don't know if that's going to yield enough. That part I just don't know. I just don't know that. I mean, granted, I mean it's possible, but with 25 per 32nd, then we're probably just looking at maybe 95th, and then I think the Chiefs have they have 131 and 159. So we're probably looking at probably just 95th and probably 159, which they got from Dallas. I mean, I love fourth round picks. I do. Goody treats them like paper clips. He just throws them in whatever direction he feels like it. Uh, I was pulling my hair out for the Jordan Love trade. Not because we got Jordan Love, is because like you really burned a fourth round pick. Like I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm still held up on that. I'll probably never let it go until Jordan wins the Super Bowl. Like you burned a fourth round pick. So, but yeah, definitely a trade back. It just really depends on where the value is, because I mean, if it's just me, I think with the 42nd or maybe we've got a trifecta of AFC teams. We've got the Chargers, the Titans, and the Texans all right there. The Titans are probably less inclined with a new GM and head coach team combo. And then there's no telling what Jim Harbaugh is looking for the Chargers. So I think the Texans make the most sense here. But if it's me, my first pick is probably Edge Cooper, just because it's a matter of, depending on who you like, Edge Cooper, Peyton Wilson, Junior Colson. After that trio of linebackers, there's a considerable drop off going into day two at the linebacker position. Now you're at the Cedric Grays of the world, and love Cedric Gray, but that's where your drop off is. And then once those three guys go, there's going to be a beeline to the Cedric Gray sweepstakes. So how else do you see day two panning out, Brian?
It could go multiple ways. I don't know. They have holes, of course. Like I said, they need a couple linebackers, they need a couple corners, probably safeties, O line, of course. So I think it just depends on which positions they want to attack on day two versus day three. I think they'll probably get at least one linebacker day two. They'll probably get at least one offensive lineman either day one or day two, depending where they pick and stuff, of course. They'll probably get a safety too, also on day two. I'm trying to think. And then after that, I think it just depends on how they want to attack, the draft and depth at the different positions they're going to need in day three.
Yeah, and then I think, and that's really why I like the idea of the trade of 25, because in that immediate second round run, the premium tackles will be gone. Like I said, once Marius Mims comes off the board, which I think he probably goes to the Cowboys, unfortunately, like just 2 picks ahead of us at 23rd. Then you get into that second tier of tackles, and a trade for 25 to whoever, should net us, especially going that far back into like maybe like 38, 39, 40, 41. That could net us so much additional juice in the second round. So, I mean, and this is just me, no telling what the Packers actually like to do, but that could net you maybe Edge Cooper, and then possibly, depending on how many picks are in the second round, that could net you your swing tackle in Jordan Morgan. That could net you a Kieran Amagaji. That could net you Kingsley Suamatea, who I think are those top. I'm not big on Tyler Guyton, folks. I'm sorry, but if they are interested in Tyler, those 4 tackles are right there for the taking. So it could be a case of I get my linebacker and I get 2 premium tackles to add competition to my room. Because and that's probably the big question I would have. And that's the one thing Goody will probably never give up is, do they like Zach Tom at right tackle? Do they want to move him to center? I think there's been several articles like Zach Tom could be a Hall of Famer at center. He could be an all pro at right tackle. What do they want to do? It could be that question may not be answered until the end of the draft and they watch the board fall to them. Center is not a premium position. So center is going to have to slide. So you guys in the Jackson Powers Johnson camp, the Zach Frazier camp, the Drake Nugent camp, Zach Zender camp, whatever, yada, yada, yada. Like now if Graham Barton slides, he's not going to slide. Maybe we're talking about something different here, but I think it's really we're really talking about maybe like the Tanner Bordolinis and the Matt Lees of the world who are going to be available late day 3 just to add, not necessarily supplant Josh Myers, but give him competition and maybe get him to step up. If not, they will gladly step in and take those first team reps. So I think really how this draft ends decides where Zach Tom plays in 2024. Right now, he's a right tackle, but in a situation where they trade 25, they've got an extra, maybe an additional pick in the second round and maybe an additional pick in the bottom of the third. Now you've got 3 second-round picks. I could definitely see it in Edge Cooper, Kieran Amagaje, Kingsley Suamatea, like literally one after the other. You've got your linebacker in the middle, and now you've got 2 bookend tackles. Granted, they're rookies. It might get rough. I mean, we saw how rough it was for Rasheed Walker starting out last year. But you've got 2 bookend tackles. Rasheed can plug in if necessary. Zach can plug in if necessary, if due to injury or declining play. But then otherwise, Zach is manning the center position, and then your only question is right guard. And we can wait on right guard. We can certainly wait on right guard. I fully believe in Sean Ryan. Hopefully, the Packers believe in Sean Ryan. It's just a matter of adding, competition late. How do you feel about late? Well, let's not say late, but let's say mid to late day 2, Brian.
I mean, it's kind of the same as I was saying earlier. Like I said, it just depends on, how they want to, what they do in the first round, the second round, stuff like that. It's going to tell us what they're going to do later. As far as like I said, tackling, because like they have depth issues. They have some, we don't know who the starters are at linebacker. We don't know we only know one of the starters at safety. At least one of the starters at corner could be someone on the roster, could be someone off the roster. That's hard to say. So like I said, just depends on what they do. What they do earlier and what Goody wants to do going forward.
So, obviously, Packer fans worldwide get a little anxiety, when the third round queues up. But I think he can, I think he can play it safe in the third round. I think Goody can play it safe in the third round. After the premium corners are gone, and this will kind of also influence, the second round to a degree, but I'm okay with the current cornerback room. I'm okay with it. Hopefully Eric Stokes returns to form. Jair will be, locked and loaded, ready to go. Keyshawn Nixon is back at the nickel position. And then we've still got the law office of Valentine and Ballantyne to back us up. So I think, and that's why I was so cool on selecting Kool-Aid in the first round. I think the third round is probably where that next run of corners could potentially, begin. And there's still plenty of talent in the third round for the cornerback position. There's, Kamari Lassiter. Brian and I went toe-to-toe over Andrew Phillips. he's probably not going to be there, but maybe Max Melton is still hanging out in the third round. Maybe Renardo Green and Jerry and Jones are there. It'd be hell to get Renardo Green and Jerry and Jones in the third round. You've got your outside dude, you've got your nickel dude, and then it's just a matter on if Eric Stokes decides to push them for snaps. And then if Keyshawn Nixon, can push Jerry in for snaps, or he just is our all pro special teamer. That's competition right there. And then a guy that I think people don't talk about enough, Cam Hart. So, which I think for some reason, I don't know why people keep talking about Kyrie Jackson. I'm like, why? Cam Hart is everything. He's everything. He's everything, and people just don't realize it yet. So, the third round is really, I think, Goot's like, granted, like I said, he has his premium positions, his non-premium positions. I think he's going to play around in the third round. I think, just depending on where the slides go, or the runs go, rather. Teams will have got their fill on offensive tackle in the first round, the ones that really needed them. I think Kingsley and Kieran will be there for the taking, along with Tyler. So, whichever one he feels he needs is there. If he needs more than one, he's there. Edge will be there. Junior will be there. Peyton should also be there. But after that, I know everybody talks about the Packers. They find guys late. I don't think this is the draft you want to wait around late for an offensive lineman. This is just me. If you want them to play or push for snaps immediately, I don't think this is the draft you want to wait for that. So I think third round, you might have a little bit of anxiety, but I think, moving a defensive back is the way to go. I think Brian, you mentioned safety. At this point, I'm just gonna close my eyes and just wait for Brian to select whatever safety he likes. At this point, I'd much rather just have Rudy Ford. This is where I'm at. I'd rather just have Rudy Ford. If Javon Bullard's still around there, granted he's undersized, I think as a late day 2 pick, I would chance it on Cameron Kitchens. But other than that, like we mentioned on the safety episode just a couple of days ago, I'm swinging 3 times on day 3 for the safety position, and go from there. I mean, from my perspective, if your corners are good enough, your safeties only have to be what's so good. Truthfully, if your corners are locked down, and Caleb Williams is like, oh, DJ Moore's down there somewhere, but he is gridlocked, then that's an easy pick for Xavier McKinney, and then whoever else is playing beside him. If your corners are locked down, we talk about coverage sacks. There are also coverage interceptions. I know that may sound weird, but if your corners have locked everyone down and the defensive line or the front 7 is collapsing the pocket, and quarterbacks, the not necessarily smart ones, instead of taking a sack, they try to just throw it up. Your safety, as long as they're half decent at tracking the ball, that's nothing more than a punt return. Literally, just follow the ball, we'll stop underneath it, catch it, and then take off. So I'm cool with waiting on swinging till day 3. So let's move into day 3, Brian. What are we thinking here?
Like I kind of mentioned, it's not a great draft overall as far as depth. Outside of a couple of positions. So it's, there's, how do I put it? Like the interior offensive line classes are pretty deep in day 3. So I'd assume that's kind of where they go day 3 with their interior offensive line picks. And then there's, again, like I said, the linebacker class is not great either. But again, that's probably where they'll probably get some depth is day 3 for the linebackers. And I think just in general depth is probably what they'll look for in day 3. Linebackers, maybe some corners if they want to get an extra couple corners, depending on what happens on day 2. I know Goody's talked about taking a quarterback, maybe a quarterback there, but I don't know. Like I said, the quarterback class, especially on day 3, is not good. It's a bunch of guys that you can probably get as UDFA's, unless someone slips, of course. They could wait probably till day 3 to get a running back if they want. There's probably be some decent running backs on day 3, like in the 4th round area. Trying to think, and I think that's about it. I mean, yeah, I think that's probably about it. They'll probably hit those positions mostly on day 3.
Yeah, day 3, like I'm good with Goody on whatever he gets on day 3. Like you said, interior, offensive lineman. I think like your Zach Zenter, your Matt Lee, your Tanner Bordolini, trying to get some additional competition for Sean Ryan and Josh Myers. Doesn't need a ton of doesn't have to be a ton of players. Does not have to be a ton of players. It could be one or one, 2 or 3. It just depends on who slides. Bo Limmer, Javion Cohen. It just really depends on what Goody's looking for, but probably more than the center and guard position, because again, I believe if they can snatch up 2 premium tackles, then the interior is set with Zach Tom moving inside. What I have seen, or getting a little bit more buzz on, is probably the defensive line. I know a lot of people have been trying to talk about Michael Hall Jr. going like in the 2nd. I don't think that highly of him because he's undersized. But I'm gonna make our handler Aaron Nagler happy. But Dwayne Carter out of Duke, Mason Smith out of LSU, Tyler Davis out of Clemson, Keith Randolph Jr. out of Illinois, Miles Murphy out of North Carolina, Christian Boyd out of Northern Iowa. Those are all, we don't need all of them. I really don't get why we need probably more than one. My crush would be on Mason Smith because of the length. To just get one more guy in the interior that gives Kenny a break. We know TJ needs breaks. Give Devontae a break. You can never have too many pass rush people, rushing after the quarterback. Same goes for the run stuffers. Can't have, in a season where we might have to see I can't even think of his name, Christian McCaffrey and others, we have to see Aaron Jones twice coming up. I'm okay with maybe another run stuffer in the interior of the defensive line. And for day 3, like this is my safety trifecta. And then may the odds be in their favor between if Cameron Kitchens and Tyler Newman's testing is so abysmal that they fall to the 4th and 5th rounds, I am all aboard on that. And then see if they can actually do it in the NFL. But if they're gone because some teams like, well, you know what, I like the tape, I don't care about the testing, then yes, the trio of we talked and say the Keelan Oladapo, the Bo Brays, the Trey Taylors, if they're still there, I'm all good for a three pick swing in day 3. If Taylor Demerson slides, I think he's a definite slider, into day 3. If he's still there, I'm all for 3 swings to see if one of these guys can stick. Strong safety is not necessarily, in my opinion, a hard translation in the NFL. As long as you understand your coverage shells, and then we're moving to a 4-3. A lot of 4-3 concepts. The strong safety is really just covering the tight end. He's covering the tight end. If the tight end is blocking, staying in the block, staying in line, then boom, you're an instant run support dude. It's free safety get a little bit complicated, especially if you're center field. But normally, if you're talking about 2 high coverage concepts, it's not much for strong safety to really figure out. Maybe that's just me as a football X's and O's guys, but it's not hard for you. Either got it or you don't. People talked about Jonathan Owens. Jonathan Owens played very well, if you ask me. He's not high end by any means, but he did his job. The plays that he did blow were, I wouldn't say he blew them, but it was more just because his athleticism is just did it. So, 3 swings at safety in the third in day 3, I'm all for it. Outside of that, just for day 3, just really just sit back and enjoy the ride. A lot of times, day 3 picks are sometimes it's best player available. Maybe we see a wide receiver. We saw Xavier Legette was brought in, I think, as the last of the top 30 visits. We don't. I don't really know when though. I hope it's not day 2. But if an Xavier Legette, if a Jermaine Burton slides into the 4th round, that's a possibility. Nobody's trading Christian Watson yet. But if he is unavailable for a significant portion of the season, one thing we know about Goody that's different than Ted, Goody will cut bait quickly. We saw that with Jamon Moore. I think Goody still has nightmares about Jamon Moore. But yeah, he will cut bait quickly. And it's like we have plenty of wide receivers, but we don't have as many of Christian Watsons who can, be the vertical threat. So that's all I got for the day 3. What about you, Brian? What? I lost you, Brian. I lost your audio. Brian, you're muted. Brian, you're muted. Brian, you're muted. I can't unmute you. I have no idea what Brian's doing.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. What'd you do?
Oh, I don't know what happened.
You muted yourself. I was like, Brian, you're muted.
Sorry, I didn't realize I muted myself. I didn't realize till right now. Sorry. Anyway, so what'd you ask? I couldn't really hear you.
I'm saying what your additional notes were for day 3.
Oh, additional notes? I don't know, not much. Just they'll probably take some guy who ends up starting or playing really well, on day 3. It happens every year almost. So, we'll see. But yeah, they'll probably just take somebody who ends up people like who's that guy, or I don't know who that guy, or that guy sucks, or whatever, and he'll end up starting some games or playing well as a backup or whatever.
Yeah, I'll have the most. Well, I always have the most fun on day 3. So we'll just kind of see how day 3 plays out, and then just for the draft overall, it's crazy. We do all this research, all these predictions, all these mock draft Mondays, and it'll all get reduced to absolutely nothing in a matter of 15 minutes to start, and then from there. So a couple of us will get some things right. I'm hoping I get a little bit right tomorrow. Hopefully a little bit. But if not, I'll be back next year to tell you how I know so much more than the rest of you. And Brian too. We'll have a better show next year too.
Then it's on to 2025 draft.
Yeah, 2025 draft. All right, we're out of here. We will see you Saturday or Sunday to close out this draft. Talk about what happened, what didn't happen, what we were right about, very little. What we were wrong about, a whole lot. And hopefully celebrate the eventual drafting of an Aaron Nagler draft rush. So stay locked in. It's CHTV Packers Draft Room, and we'll see you at the conclusion of the draft festivities. Go Pack, go.
Go Pack, go.